Good evening to you, dear friends.
Good evening to you all. Welcome.
Tonight, we continue to read from the page 29. Before we start reading, do you have anything to say, add, or comment?
We progress with full speed. I don't have anything to add, the pages we will read are heavy. But I kindly ask from our friends not to be impatient. We repeat the concepts, give various examples. The book does the same, after all. This shows that these topics are very important. If we had looked from one side, with those examples, we may be able to see things from a different perspective. As we read the book, we do the same. Yes, we repeat things, but I ask from our friends to try going deeper into the discussions, with patience. Here, we learn together with them, anyway.
Tonight, we will read topics that our minds can't easily grasp. So let's begin reading. This is a certain truth that no part or whole of the infinite sequence of universes, which are of substances that have much more abundant possibilities and are superior to one another, and which therefore display capabilities that are able to respond to the more advanced needs of spirits, nevertheless cannot reach the level of spirits. Thus, also the possibility of spirits, which originate from whatsoever universe substance, cannot be thought of. There is an absolute inaccessibility between universes, universe substances, and spirits. This inaccessibility arises from the disposition of spirit and universe substances. Because, if universes and spirits could give and take something from each other, and had there been mutually substantial values which had the same disposition between them, there would not be the necessity of spirit and universe duality, and the meaning of evolution would be vanished. Similarly, it cannot be thought that universe substances could change into each other through development or by any other means. The change of these substances into each other cannot be possible. Therefore, as it may arise in mankind's minds, a universe, by developing, cannot shift up to constitute a higher universe. That universe only, within vast possibilities that can be said to be infinite, congregates, disperses, and congregates, redisperses again. This state is an infiniteness which no one can conceive. If the transforming of universes into each other through time and development was a truth, then there would be no necessity and imperative for universe substances to exist separately and for universes to exist separately. And a single universe would remain forever as a milieu of evolution to spirits. But this state cannot be reconciled with the concept of the endless evolutionary needs of spirit. For, however infinite the possibilities it has, a universe, whose quality does not change and which remains of the same quality of substance, is not sufficient to meet the infinite needs of spirit. Such a concept of the single universe would lead to the need for spirits and universes to be of the same value and on the same plane, and this is completely contradictory to the spirit and universe duality and the idea of evolution. Therefore, the concept of the single universe is not in accord with the concept of endless evolution of spirit. Even if its infinite possibilities are accepted, the intuition of a single quality that will respond to the evolution of spirit, which has infinite scope, is one thing. The intuition of infinite possibilities of infinite qualities, which have absolutely no similarity with each other, is another thing. And the state which is worthy of the truth of spirit's endless evolution, that is, the state which is suitable for the truth of endless evolution, which for reaching an end is out of the question, that is, the latter state is the state of existence of infinite substances, of which each one is of a completely different quality, and which has infinite possibilities of development in particular characters. So, the truth of the endlessness of spirit's evolution can find its essential meaning and value only by undergoing endless evolutionary cycles in each of such infinite substance qualities.
Now, I'd like to remind a few things by going back to the beginning. As we discussed lengthily in the previous weeks, we are the bodies of our spirits that make applications on matter via their beings. Each of us have a spirit. And via the being, via this exchange of influences, we as humans make applications. We are pleased or not, advanced or not, we make various applications and acquire feelings and experience, live events, reach conclusions, etc. As humans, we live on Earth. Our current living zone is Earth. And Earth is in a material milieu we call space, that the book names astronomical cosmos, but this astronomical cosmos and even our world should not be assumed as the beginning and end of our universe. Indeed, it is only a point, a moment of it. We can clearly say that worldly life, I don't only mean a lifetime, even the period of time we live as humans in a cycle of 60 or 70,000 years in 500 to 700 incarnations, is just a moment in the time of universe. A speck. First, we need to feel this. We need to sense it, intuit it. Why do I say this? We have a human-centered understanding and thinking. Because our egoistical side is too strong, and this is not a bad thing, it has been with us since our first instinct of survival, we think that everything revolves around us. Outmoded space mechanics models as well assumed that the universe revolved around us. However, now we understand very well that what we call space, in which our world is a speck taking relatively an infinitely small place, is even small relative to the astronomic cosmos. Yet the fact that we call universe encompasses all of these. We now have the knowledge that the universe is way beyond the astronomic cosmos, which is the manifestation of the hydrogen cosmos, which is a very small part of. That is, from the amorphous matter to hydrogen cosmos. Our current cosmos. Next is the plans of duty and the semi-subtle realms that we use for transitioning to plans of duty. So, there is a chain of realms, cosmoses. As stated in Quran, Lord of all worlds. Universe encompasses all these realms. There is a reason the book uses the word realm, to make us understand this better. Yes, our universe encompasses all those realms, cosmoses, and there is a governing point of our universe that is called the unitary, which is a state of unity where the beings in duty attain by evolving. Consequently, for spirits, this universe is not the only one either. We had mentioned this, but let's repeat once more. We understand that this universe is not the only one. And even, we find out that there are other universes that has different matter substances and more abundant possibilities. But let's not misunderstand this like, spirit is now in this universe and when its work is finished here, it will go to the next station like a city bus. Such thinking is a completely linear thinking, anyway. Not only about an understanding about super-universe, this is even not suitable for the understanding about perceptual time. It's only about the superficial time, as the time of our world's clocks display, tick-tock, tick-tock. And the bus arrives at the station at this and that hour. Such a linear understanding we have. Thus, we must remember this. Spirit has such a substance that it makes applications at the substances of those infinite universes at each moment and within the original time. Later, we will understand those concepts better, as much as we can understand. Again, it does not mean that it finishes its work in one universe and then goes to the next one. I think, it is clear now. And also, the substance of our universe, contrary to our assumptions, is not highly evolved. Like we are the most magnificent beings and the matter of the universe we use is the most magnificent substance, and the only substance the spirit needs is ours. No way. We also let go this single universe phrase. We will read this at the next passage. No, there are other universes in an infinite number, and the spirit's needs are all about to understand and practice the workings of all those infinite substances in order to evolve. First of all, we must understand this sequence. More correctly, this is not a sequence but an encompassing, not inside of each other but at the same time and everywhere. Yes, it sounds like quantum, but quantum knowledge is a way below level of mechanics of that. Indeed, quantum is the knowledge about matter that belongs to the level of hydrogen atom. That's why, we should not connect everything to the quantum theory. Yes, it is an important topic, but what we discuss here is not related to the quantum, at all. After all, physics is about matter, yet the substances of other universes are non-material, even have more possibilities than matter. I am checking the book to say it correctly, of substances that have much more abundant possibilities and are superior to one another. Yes, let's understand this makeup and our position in it. Everything is not created for us. Yet, all events and occurrences in the matter universe are for and to meet the needs of our own spirits. For each of us. For each of our spirits. That's true. Yet all those universes already exist. I say, already, and it is still about time. We must not use even such words. So, first, let's establish these in our intuition about the universes. There are some parts one highlighted in this passage. Yes, when we are free of this linear thinking, one universe is getting developed and passing into another universe becomes out of question. Spirit's simultaneous applications in the universes is not about the theory of parallel universes, either. No way. This is a theory about time, after all. So, when you hear we say, universes, please don't think of parallel universes. So, infinite universes, we read about is not about this theory, at all. These universes have different substances, they don't have matter as ours has. What do they have? We don't know. What kind of method they have? We don't know. The book says there are substances that are much more superior to the matter universe, and again, don't think that we eventually make matter substance developed enough to attain the level of a superior substance of another universe. No way. Yes, things get developed and more developed, and then they are dispersed and congregated. Dispersing and gathering. Now, I'd like to mention another thing. I talked too long, I know, but we are here to talk, correct? Yes, things congregate, disperse, and congregate, redisperse again. This way of narrating is also used in the religious texts, and the spiritual communiqués mostly mention this as cycles, following each other. For example, in Quran, at Al-Baqarah Surah, reincarnation is mentioned in this way. So, things congregate, disperse, and congregate, redisperse again. That is, things complete this cycle. There is no other way of telling this. There is a cycle here.
So, if we summarize, we see that for the evolutionary needs of spirits, that we can't know, not only our universe, but there are other universes. Infinite universes that are of substances that have much more abundant possibilities and are superior to one another. And one of the most emphasized points here is, as how spirit and matter can't directly interact, but only have an indirect contact with other universes as well. They can't directly interact, and it is stressed here that the universes cannot reach the level of spirits. So, this also tells us that don't think that when we complete this universe and reach to the unitary, the utmost point of the universe, to that unity of comprehensions, we will unite with our spirits. We see such comments or questions like these. How can we complete this universe and be one without spirits? The book clearly states that this is impossible, out of question. Even in this universe of ours, there is an infinite procession toward that point in which the interactions can only occur indirectly. Because there is an absolute inaccessibility between universes, universe substances and spirits, it is emphasized here. So, this also points to the fact that this inaccessibility arises from the disposition of spirit and universe substances. So, the spirit is in a totally different position. The book describes the spirit as a supra-universe or above the universe truth. So, in these passages, we see that this notion is consolidated. And let's see if there are phrases we'd like to discuss at the second paragraph.
I'd like to add something. We say, substance. Amorphous matter is the substance of matter universe. And in the matter universe, spirit evolves by doing applications, by working upon the amorphous matter and its variations that have been activated by the influences of the original principle. And the reason that the substance of matter universe can't attain the substance of spirit is due to the total difference between these two. However, our beings, as they evolve and even at this moment, have two sides, activity, let's use this word now, which is about applications upon matter. For example, we humans on the world, do applications through activities. This is one side of us. And also, we have another side, a spiritual side which is about gleaning meaning from and through those activities. So, our contact with our spirits is through our beings, of course, indirect and via the influences of the original principle. So, our contact and unity with our spirits occur through this side of meaning, this side of being.
Because of this, the plan emphasizes the intuition. Repeatedly says that evolution of spirit, infinity of universes, even within one universe, the infinity of the development. At the end of the day, the book says you can only intuit these, and will say again and again, let's continue reading. It is an imperative to accept the perpetuity of spirit's evolution, for that unattainability of unattainability, which we cannot mention by name, which even our intuition cannot reach in any way, determines that spirits will never enter the state of total accomplishment, of absolute perfection, and will never ever be able to be free of their evolutionary needs. Therefore, the factor which determines the unattainability of universes for spirits also determines the truth of spirits that are not able to elude the imperative of endless evolution. The factor which determines the endless evolution of spirits also governs the truth that spirits will never attain the original principle. And the factor that determines that spirits will never be able to attain the original principle is the imperative of the unattainability of unattainability, which is above everything. Even its smallest relation to everything that is the whole of wholes is out of the question, and which is impossible to express by any name for all that cannot enter our minds, imaginations, feelings. But here, for the sake of exigency, we will mention a word without considering any of its connotations, Allah. Accepting this truth as it is, without hesitation and without making it a subject of discussion, is the greatest of the imperatives, and also the only direction of the path of deliverance.
Yes.
The unattainability of unattainability. That spirits are not able to elude the imperative of endless evolution. That even spirits will never attain the original principle. No matter how evolved the spirits are, they can't attain it. There are many phrases we need to discuss here.
What is stated here? The original principle is named, here, as the unattainability of unattainability. One of the most important intuition we need to glean here. The book doesn't say, the unattainability of unattainable/s, no. The unattainability of unattainability. I had mentioned in our 6th video that we will revisit this phrase on page 31, when we read this sentence on page 20, however, we will mention this great truth, which is the unattainability of unattainability, with a symbolic name, as the original principle. So, this whole of principles is named here as, the original principle. And the original principle, this whole mechanism or system, the system itself has been mentioned not once but many times. Even on this page, 5 or 6 times. So, for this topic, without compelling ourselves to any notion, we must understand that the book leaves all divine concepts about this to mankind's degrees of comprehension and especially their ability to intuit. See, the book gives here the encryption code. This can't be understood by intelligence, knowledge, acuity, hard work or a high level of spiritual growth etc. In whichever way you feel about this notion, just keep it there. How you feel about this notion, keep this feeling. Yet remember that all those notions are meant to be developed. This understanding about God/Allah, on page 31 will always be in need of getting developed, of getting taken one step up, of getting taken up on all steps on the ladder. It has to be. We must accept this. And in whichever level our development is, our notion about the divine ruler. See, I say ruler, just like it is said in the religious texts. Let me ask you, is the divine ruler original principle or Allah? It is the original principle. After all, Allah encompasses it as well and even beyond it. Unutterable. Inexpressible. Indeed, in the golden era of Islam, there were deep discussions about this. Unfortunately, not today. Nowadays there is not much deep thinking in discussions. In those olden days, there were discussions in that direction. There was a strong thesis and notion about the laws or the original principle and Allah. They could do that. However, for the general population, the easy thinking is, let there be a ruler that has human characteristics, angry, loving, strong, compassionate, forgiving. Always human traits. Yes, such adjectives are for humans to look up to take as examples, but again, in the minds of people, the top ruler has such traits. If you notice, all of these are material adjectives or images, related to matter. Related to material level of governing, ruling. Not even related to the original principle. Well, the original principle is at a much higher level than the unitary. A principle that knows what means to do, that is, knows the necessities and how these necessities will become influences in the matter universe. We talk about a system that governs these influences to create the milieux, the all plans of duty in beings learn and make applications in, and consequently, all spirits evolve. So, this notion of God we brought along throughout the human history, we need to keep it in accordance with the level of understanding and development we are currently at. It is so natural. So, we need to move on to read, without any further ado or hesitation. That's why in this passage, they say, this is not a debatable, discussable notion. You understand this in this way? Fine. I understand this in that way. No problem. Then it is so. We take the information given here, the original principle is the unattainability of the unattainability. And we will name these laws the original principle, a symbolic name, and we will mention it throughout the book. Now, to page 31, they say, accepting this truth as it is, without hesitation and without making it a subject of discussion, is the greatest of the imperatives and also the only direction of the path of deliverance. End of my words.
This topic will be understood better on the further pages of the book, because we will read about the principle of destiny, principle of time, how these will be branched out from the necessities originated from the original principle, which is supra-universe. I think, after taking this topic intuitively in, as you said, it is better to set it aside, and after reading and digesting the whole of the book and revisiting this topic may be a more comprehensive method. Want to say something?
Sorry, I couldn't hold myself. First, we must eliminate our habitual thinking about Allah and then reread this paragraph. I mean, we need to erase our habitual understandings originated from the religions and then read again. See, this is such a notion that even the word divine becomes null, insufficient. Such a sublime notion this is. I could go on talking more, but let's continue reading.
Necessities coming from the original principle, oriented to evolutions of spirits, by entering from the uppermost boundary. These expressions are symbolic of our universe, emerge as influences in the universe. And at the uppermost boundary of the universe, of which we do not know, by filtrating through the unitary which will be discussed later, in accordance with the infinite possibilities of development and capability of matter combinations, as subjecting these and themselves to myriad formations, transformations and deformations, starting from the higher to the lower as they descend while expanding, scattering and reaching the points they would arrive at and manifesting in accordance with the needs of spirits. They accomplish their functions of indirect exchange between spirit and substance. Through whatever being, whichever stage each influence passes it exactly carries a necessity. And this necessity contains the evolutionary needs of spirits, which the matter or beings are subject to at the stage the influences arrive. Therefore, no particle of the universe is free of these influences. We repeat, the needs of spirits of which we can never appreciate and know their quality, reason, and results. Because of the absolute and natural impossibility of our universe and their evolution, which we accept as the allotted share to our universe, are provided through applications in the universe in accordance with the necessities of sublime principles. In order to execute this purpose, necessities coming from the original principle are distributed across the unitary which occupies the uppermost level of the universe. And there, these influences constitute a unity. So, these necessities, which are unified with the unitary, filtrate through the unitary as influences and are scattered to the communities, individuals, matter and beings, to all parts of matter down to the smallest particles, as in accordance with the needs of each being, and generate myriad transformations, deformations, and formations. And through this mechanism of influences, the progress and flow of the universe is achieved. The relations of beings with spirits, with each other and with matter are established, and so the development of the universe goes on towards its determined aim. Here, again, as you said, necessities are coming from the original principle, and these necessities are oriented to the evolution of spirits. For the development of the universe toward its determined aim, these influences arriving at matter go through a filtering mechanism. The book says the influences are distributed according to level of matter. And we also mentioned that within matter there is scales or levels of capacity to respond these influences. Here again, there are nice phrases that are repeated in the book. Forms, transformations from forms to other forms, and deformations, that is, some forms, when the need ceases, get dissolved. By these, influences reach to wherever they are needed to manifest things. This is done by occurring and living through all these in the matter universe. And again, the book says the influences accomplish their function as the indirect exchange between the spirit and the substance, I think. They mean the matter-substance of our own universe. And also, they talk about not only beings but the communities, individuals, matter and beings, to all parts of matter down to the smallest particles as well. So we can conclude that this mechanism works for not only for our hydrogen cosmos, the greater space or the astronomic cosmos, but all levels of downward, all levels of subtleties upward. The book says the uppermost boundary of the universe, which our minds can't grasp but only intuit. Later, we will read about the unitary in detail. It will be described as a unity of comprehensions, but here we see that the unitary has a function. Even the influences coming from the original principle can't directly enter the matter universe. They are filtered through the unitary to reach to the parts and particles of the matter universe.
Well, I'll be repeating a few things, but these are very important topics. Necessities in the original principle are completely due to the spiritual needs, evolutionary needs. That mirror system begins to work in these necessities that follow those evolutionary needs. So, there are no influences outside of universe, only necessities. As those necessities enter the universe, they are translated to the language of the universe. And what is its language? Influences. They begin to be translated to influences. And this translation begins at the level of the unitary, of course. And the disposition of the unitary is a state of unity. Of what? The beings of duty had become a unity, they are in a state of unity. Not only the beings become united among each other but also, they become united with the whole of the universe. So, what the unitary orders to be is the universe itself. That's why the book begins with those words about the nature. Could we go back and read that part?
This book is part of the harmony we see, feel around us, and name as nature in a partial fashion. It is a bridge in our universe, between that path of light that we can only name as evolution, and which reaches across to the knowledge of mankind. It is the one and only path that connects the limited and narrow matter life of mankind to a further stage that is wide and comprehensive. It is neither ours nor yours as mankind, nor anybody else. It is a gift of the divine order given to mankind. That is, it is a part of nature.
As you see, the divine order. The very divine order itself is the unitary. That state of unity is the divine order, after all. The plan connects this with the word nature. But also saying that this is not the nature you think of, just like the shamanic thinking, it is not the only seen, visible nature in the hydrogen atom cosmos. It is much, much wider. That is, it is the universe itself. So, here, everything becomes united and the sense of unity becomes explicit here. So, understanding unitary means understanding this notion of unity. The necessities at the original principle are being distributed throughout the universe as influences in a unity down to the particles, and a spirit is making applications at each particle those influences landed, and this order continues under the knowledge of the original principle without any deviation. This is how the unitary is the ruling hand, foot and brain within the matter universe, for the whole system and by becoming one with the system.
Thank you for joining us this evening, dear friends. We wish you a good week. Let's meet next week at the same time. Good evening.
Good evening, dear friends.